Hi, my name is Daniel Aguilar, and this is my presentation on ethnicity and consumption behavior.
What is the difference between race and ethnicity? Race and ethnicity in some ways go together, and the similarity is often the reason for confusion between the two terms. An ethnic group is a group that has a distinct culture of its own. It tends to be a group that shares an ancestral heritage. Ethnicity is about tradition, learned behavior, and customs. It is about learning where you come from and celebrating the traditions and ideas that are part of that region. A race is defined more by physical characteristics. For example, a black Dominican and an African American would be of the same race, but not of the same ethnicity. Race is your biologically engineered features. It can include skin color, skin tone, eye, and hair color, as well as a tendency towards developing certain diseases. It is not something that can be changed or disguised. Race does not have customs or globally learned behavior.
Society plays a huge role in defining these terms. We say in America, for example, that a person who is half Asian and half white is Asian. As long as a person looks partly Asian, he is an Asian even if he is just as white as he is Asian. So our society defines how much of a certain set of physical characteristics you have to have before you are a member of a given race. A recent article written by Will Evans from the Huffington Post said racial diversity has been growing in Southern California, but it might be reaching its peak, according to a new University of Southern California analysis. As Asian and Latino populations continue booming, cities with significant numbers of multiple races and ethnicities are increasing, especially in the suburbs outside of Los Angeles County, according to USC School of Public Policy. Other cities, meanwhile, are losing their racial balance as either Latinos or Asians become dominant. The study looked at Los Angeles, Ventura, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties over 2 decades. It found the white population has declined in nearly every city in the region, while the area's black population, the smallest of the 4 groups, has gradually decreased as well.
Why is all of this information about race and ethnicity important to marketing? It is important because as marketers, we need to know who our target market is and to make sure we are communicating coherent messages to these growing markets. Marketers may need to change strategies or add variations to their plans to include these growing cultures. Let us examine McDonald's marketing strategy.
The ethnic consumer tends to set trends, says Neil Golden, McDonald's U.S. Chief Marketing Officer, so they help set the tone for how we enter the marketplace. Golden says preferences for minority consumers shape McDonald's menu and ad choices, which are then marketed to all customers. Usually, a company works with an agency to develop advertising aimed at the general market, then turns to multicultural agencies to create versions for blacks, Hispanics, or Asians. McDonald's still creates an ad specially for minority groups, as it has for over 30 years, but minorities play an influential role in its mainstream advertising as well. The company thinks they provide an early exposure to new trends. In the 1990s, they launched the Fiesta menu, and although items sold well enough in Hispanic neighborhoods, but sales rose more than expected in Orange County, and specifically Laguna Beach, an area that was more than 90% white. The pictures below are called snack wraps, which is half a hamburger wrapped in a tortilla, a staple item in Hispanic homes. Now that I have provided an example on how marketing officers use ethnic trends to establish their strategies, I want to remind the audience that as marketers, we must not assume that all individuals belonging to a certain ethnicity think and act a certain way. For example, there is a language barrier in the Hispanic community. Only 22% of third-generation Hispanics are bilingual. None of them are Spanish-speaking only. Also in the Asian community, 2/3 of the population are immigrants, and a high percentage of them use their native language and the English language. This is an example of acculturation, which is the degree to which an immigrant has adapted to his or her new culture. Marketers must also be mindful of religious subcultures. In America, 82% of adults claim a religious affiliation. Also, regional subcultures arise as a result of climatic conditions, the natural environment, and resources. the characteristics of the various immigrant groups that have settled in each region, and significant social and political events. For example, in sports marketing, there is a heavy promotion on local city teams, which is why it is difficult to find Los Angeles Lakers sports memorabilia in Boston, Massachusetts, home of the Boston Celtics. According to BBC News, Asian Americans are the fastest growing minority group in the U.S., according to census data, and brands have found a new interest in the valuable consumer group. Despite their growth, though, Asian Americans make up only 5% of the U.S. population and remain very fragmented, with many different cultures and languages all living in the same country. Now let us look at State Farm Insurance Company, which stands out as one of the leading corporate marketers in the U.S. Asian market. For several years, State Farm has developed comprehensive advertising, marketing, and public relations campaigns that have helped the company achieve significant brand equity among Asian Pacific American consumers. State Farm has been actively engaged in marketing to the Asian Pacific American community for many years. However, over the last 9 years, the focus has increased with specific in-language marketing that resonates culturally and specifically to the needs of the many different Asian Pacific American communities, recognizing the subtle differences and value across the many nationalities. Ethnicity consumer behavior is important to understand because we live in a very diverse culture. In order to take advantage of these different types of consumers, we must understand their cultural background and be aware that they have needs and desires and have the money to spend on goods and services. Also, religion and regional location play an important role in their lives.